Shabbat Shalom. It is a peculiar thing to be alone with other people around. What am I talking about? Thinking about, if you know the song America by Simon and Garfunkel, that line at the end, I'm empty and aching and I don't know why, counting the cars on the New Jersey Turnpike. This idea of sitting on a bus or something like that, being surrounded by people on the bus, being surrounded by people outside of the bus, and yet this idea, I'm empty and aching, feel alone, and I don't know why. There is a peculiarity to being alone, surrounded by people. Arguably, on some level, it maybe feels even more alone than if you were actually alone by yourself in the woods or by yourself in your room or something like that, somewhere where truly nobody else is there. But the aloneness of being by yourself, surrounded by people, is a peculiar and particular kind of being alone. I think about one of my rabbinic mentors who once said to me, being a rabbi is this sort of socially overwhelming job that is packed with people, and it is so profoundly lonely. Which I thought was such an interesting commentary on being a rabbi, that you have people all around you all the time, and that there is something lonely about the quality, the caliber of whatever it is to do the thing. If you've flown by yourself recently, there's some of that too. Earbuds and stuff, putting in your music, tuning out, that can help if you're looking to get away from other people. But if you're finding yourself feeling bereft or alone, having the people around you, not only do you not know them, not only do you not have a relationship, you're not connecting with them, but then they tune you out actually by putting in earphones. How desolate is that? Which is a piece of what I was sort of ruminating on. That being alone and being surrounded, in reflecting on Nasso this week, and in particular the Birkat HaKohanim, and this idea that one of the holiest and most important blessings, and we do it at all these B'nai Mitzvah and stuff, and certain holidays and things like that, it'll be part of Musaf and whatever, and everybody stands up. It's this very collective blessing. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha Ye'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. All of that cha at the end, who here knows enough Hebrew to tell me about it?
Oh.
You, thank you.
Singular.
You. And Carol is seizing on the remarkable thing about this. It's a blessing that oftentimes takes place in a certain kind of collective moment, but seizes on the you of it. Which is kind of funny and kind of antithetical to Judaism. If I told you, where do you go find God in Judaism? You likely wouldn't tell me, oh, I go to the mountaintop, I get away from everybody, I go into isolation, notwithstanding, the asterisk of Hit Bodedut for those of you who are familiar. But the idea is that actually you're in minyan. You're surrounded by people. That's where you want to go to find God. Go hang out with at least 9 other adult Jews. Everybody in this room is an adult, so I can say that, 9 other adult Jews. But the point being that you're not supposed to go into some kind of isolation or get away from people to find God. And yet, when we have the Birkat HaKohanim, the blessing from the priesthood, in its collective moment, when the great temple stood 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, as I was riff on at these B'nai Mitzvah, all the Israelites all assembled, it's you. It's individual. It's not you as a collective. I want to build on that for a second. Do you know there's a blessing? Some of you probably know this. Josh probably knows this. I think I've learned it with you before, which is why I'm picking on you. Did y'all know that there's a blessing for if you have 600,000 Jews all in the same place?
You've mentioned it.
I've mentioned it before. Thank you, Havilah.
That's the only reason I know.
It's the only reason you know. What, you haven't been hanging out with 599,999 other Jews? Yeah, there is actually a blessing for 600,000 Jews. Why 600,000?
That's how many Jews were supposedly at Mount Sinai.
Very good.
Or was,
Very good. And so you have this amazing piece in Talmud where they're talking about the blessing said over 600,000 Jews. They talk about when there were 600,000 Jews assembled at the great temples in Israel. And then they go a step further and say, well, the great synagogue in Alexandria had twice that number of Jews, 1.2 million. And the building was so big and the crowd was so huge that the only way you would know to say Amen when the Chazan leads you there is because there's somebody with a flag posted, at regular intervals throughout it, waving the flag so that you know to say Amen when you're there with the 1.2 million other Jews. Whether or not this actually historically took place, I'm not playing in that sphere right now, but it is a piece that talks about the great synagogue of Alexandria and the double crowd. I love the blessing for 600,000 Jews, though. Baruch Chacham Harazim. Blessed is the one who knows the innermost secrets. Which gets back to that inversion of being alone and being with other people. At the moment at which you are hypothetically, theoretically, the most surrounded by all of these other Jews, the blessing is, blessed is God who knows your innermost self. Which is kind of an interesting one. Thinking about what the utility of that is, I was also thinking about that song, America, Simon and Garfunkel, laughing on the bus, playing games with the faces. She said the man in the gabardine suit is a spy. I said, be careful, his bow tie is really a camera. And that's that beautiful descending guitar thing. And what's interesting is right there, Paul Simon. Did Paul Simon write that? I assume he wrote that. Yeah. Simon is finding a way to ascribe and to attribute humanity to people he doesn't know. It's almost a game, laughing on the bus, playing games with the faces, finding some kind of backstory to people that isn't even necessarily real, but restores a tiny little bit of humanness to it. It's not until later on, and he's counting the anonymous cars on the New Jersey Turnpike, I'm empty and aching and I don't know why. But earlier in the tune, the little bit of playing games with the faces, there's this idea of the humanity of other people. And that's what I think I really appreciate about that Baruch Chacham Harazim blessing, and that's what I appreciate about the Yevarechecha Adonai V'Yishmerecha of Nasso, that at the moments when perhaps we might intuitively find ourselves the most lost, we have the technology or this piece of this blessing of Yivarechecha Adonai V'Yishmerecha, that the Kohen HaGadol, the high priest, is saying, may God bless you and keep you. That you can't actually disappear into the crowd in those moments. It's not possible because God is with you. And then we're going to take it a step further, actually in the greatest moment of anonymity that the Talmud imagines with the 600,000. Blessed is God who knows innermost secrets about you. Not just God blessing you personally and the idea that you exist as a discrete human being of your own, but the idea that God deeply knows you personally, knows the things that you keep from other people. And I actually think there's something of an imperative there. Maybe it's with the person who lays on the horn and gives you the finger while you're driving. Maybe it's that scramble in and around the boarding lanes at the airplane and shoving in front and getting on there to get your available overhead space. Maybe it's the internet and all of its anonymity. But I think there is a really interesting corrective in the Birkat HaKohanim that has to do with when you are surrounded and when you may think you are alone, you are not. In point of fact, you are supposed to do the godly thing and recognize that there is humanity around you. You can't let the nameless and the faceless people, they don't just disappear into nothing. These are human beings. Laughing on the bus, playing games with the faces. Paul Simon's doing it too. This idea that you can't just write off anonymity. We get in our cars in a certain kind of suburban vision, go to work, don't talk to other people, don't interact with them, don't look up at the line in the grocery store, whatever. But I want to take at least this moment of Birkat HaKohanim, the priestly blessing, and the idea of God extracting you from everybody at the great temples that stood in Jerusalem, or I don't know, all of the Jews forever now. Or that moment of God seeing our innermost selves and secrets when we're surrounded with that 600,000 crowd of Jews. That idea that we too can't lose sight of the humanity of other people, particularly when it is anonymous, when we are surrounded, living these suburban existences and all of that. We have to keep that in sight. We have to keep that close to the vest. The fact that we are interlocked, interconnected, and that these are human beings with human secrets, even the ones laying on the horn at you and all of this stuff and whatever, the ones trolling on the internet. Well, maybe they're not human beings. That might be the Russian bot farm, whatever. But the point being to actually seek out and to ascertain a little bit of humanity when it's challenging to find it. Shabbat Shalom.